Good afternoon. My name is Fadi Faraj, and I serve as the ASE Dallas Branch President. Welcome to our August meeting. I'd like to acknowledge the people at our head table. On my far left, your right, we have Patrick Williams, our President-elect, and we have Natalie Bettger, our keynote speaker with NCTCOG. We have Elaine Jin, she's our programs chair. And on my right, we have Amanda Coif. She's our technical director, and Erin Williams with Terracon, our sponsor for the meeting. Are there any past presidents of the branch among the crowd? Let's give them a round of applause. Texas section leadership. We have Mark Boyd, Julie Jones. Let's give them a round of applause. Region 6 leadership. Do we have any Region 6 leadership? There we go. Any student chapters or students from UTA or SMU? We have some. Any first-time attendees? There we go. I'd love to connect with you if you'd like to stop by after the meeting. Next, I'm going to ask Patrick Williams for the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation.
Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated for the prayer. Almighty God, we thank you for this day and the opportunity to gather together. We're grateful for the talents you've given to us, and it is our prayer that we exercise them responsibly. May we be good stewards of the skill and wisdom you have entrusted to us, and to use them conscientiously, because our work not only influences the safety and welfare of our fellow humans, but also utilizes Earth's natural resources. Teach us to be humble, to show respect to one another, and work in a professional and ethical manner. I ask that you bless this food to the nourishment of our bodies. May our fellowship honor you and advance our profession. In your name we pray, amen.
Thank you, Patrick. We have a few announcements from the Dallas branch. Reese Taylor, he's in charge of our nominating committee, and he couldn't make it today. But our nominations committee has met and came up with a slate of recommended officers. President will be Patrick Williams, brawling from the previous position, which is president-elect. And the president-elect is Surya Bandari, brawling off from the vice president position. I'll become past president, Fadi Faraj. Nala Williams, treasurer. It's a 2-year term, so rolling from last year. It was the first year for her. Secretary is Braden Hoffman. Texas section director, Reese Taylor. Technical director, Yonte Young. And branch director, Annabelle Crosby. According to our bylaws, any 3 members with good standing, they can still nominate people. They need to let us know by the end of the meeting. Next, I'm going to call on Amanda Coif to make some announcements.
All right, so I have 2 very exciting announcements related to our technical institutes. The first is that we have a half-day technical seminar coming up. It will be hosted on November 10th, and it will be here at the VOOV from 8:30 to 11:30 that morning. So it will be our Geotechnical Institute and our Transportation and Development Institute. They are going to have 3 technical sessions each. So if you attended our half-day seminar in February, you know that this is a really good way to get caught up on your PDHs and a good way to hear some really good presentations from our institutes. So again, that's going to be November 10th. From 8:30 to 11:30, half-day seminar with our Geo Institute and Transportation and Development Institute. And we'll be sending out some more information over email and on our LinkedIn soon. So keep an eye out for that. The other really exciting announcement that we have for our institutes is that we are actually starting a new institute under our Dallas branch. So that will be the Architectural Engineering Institute, or AEI. We are working with the national team to get that set up under our Dallas branch. And what this means for you is that once we get that institute set up, we'll be able to offer some more continuing education opportunities and technical sessions that are geared towards architectural engineering. So it's very exciting. It's something we've been working on we've been wanting to do for a while. And even though he's not here today, I would like to give a big shout out to Ashim Gajarel, who has been leading the charge in getting that group set up and doing all the coordination with our national AEI and state level AEI to get that set up. So big thank you to Ashim. And if you have any questions about the AEI Institute, or if you would like to be involved, we are looking for volunteers. Please come find me after the meeting. I would be happy to talk to you about AEI.
Thank you, Amanda. Next, I'm going to ask Nala Williams to make some announcements about our younger members.
Right, so this past Saturday, we actually had a fun lake cleanup with the TSP Dallas chapter, and a lot of fun was had. The lake was cleaned up, so please be on the lookout for our next Younger Member social event, as we would like to have fun and keep the group engaged. And then coming up tomorrow is actually a lunch and learn that's hosted by the Texas section Younger Members. And so this will be at 12 p.m. at the Kimley Horn Dallas office. Topics will include advanced surveying technologies, geospatial and inspection services, and Wendell Robbins III, PhD, will be the speaker. So please go to our LinkedIn page or our Instagram to register for that lunch and learn if you haven't already. Thank you.
Thank you, Nala. We have an announcement from UTA. Did you know that you can take up to 4 UTA's civil engineering graduate courses for professional development or continuing education without formally enrolling in their graduate program? If you're interested, check their website. Thank you to our morning technical session speakers, Clint Nash, Ryan Gani, and Soik Cho with HKS. The topic was the new Toyota Stadium, Lessons in Computational Design. Let's give them a round of applause. Also, I want to thank our scholarship committee, chaired by Chad Ostrander. Where's Chad? There he is. Last month at the joint meeting, the Dallas branch awarded $40,000 approximately of scholarships as part of our James W. Griffin Scholarship. Let's give a round of applause for that committee. Next, I'm going to ask Erin Williams to come talk to us about Terracom being our sponsor.
Good afternoon. So I'm Erin Williams. I'm a geotechnical engineer in the Terracon Dallas office, and Terracon is a proud sponsor of the ASC Dallas chapter, and we appreciate the invite to speak today. Terracon's more than just an engineering consulting firm. We look to be problem solvers to build the foundation for a safe, sustainable, and successful projects across the country. We have departments in geotechnical engineering, environmental consulting, construction materials testing, and facilities services. And what sets us apart is our client-focused approach and our nationwide network of offices. We have over 7,000 employees and over 180 office locations nationwide. But just in Texas alone, we have over 28 office locations, 3 of which are in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. We've had the opportunity to work on and be considered partners for countless projects within the metro, and have a history of over 30 years in the area. You probably drove by several of our notable projects when you were on your way to lunch today, and some of these include the ongoing construction of the Bank of America Tower at Clyde Warren Park, countless portions of NTTA and I-35, or even driving past the Toyota headquarters in Frisco. Civil engineers are crucial in the future of our society, and it's such a blessing to be able to meet in forums such as this to discuss various topics and support one another while planning for a better future. We thank you for allowing us to be sponsors.
Thank you, Erin and Terracon, for sponsoring the meeting. Just a reminder, CECON is coming up. It's September 17th through the 19th in San Marcos. And this year, they actually added the golf tournament, so hope to see you there. We're going to take a few minutes break. Enjoy your lunch while we get ready for the presentation.
To introduce our speaker today, Ms. Natalie Bettger, Senior Program Manager for Congestion Management at the North Central Texas Council of Governments, or NCTCOG. As you all know, NCTCOG plays a critical role in shaping the Dallas-Fort Worth region's transportation plans and programs, addressing the needs of one of the fastest growing areas in the country. Natalie holds a master's degree in urban planning from the University of Akron and a bachelor's in geography from Northwest Missouri State University. At NCTCOG, she oversees the Congestion Management and Systems Operation Program area, covering everything from transportation systems management operations to aviation, safety, security, special events, and transportation technology. She works closely with partner agencies to implement congestion management strategies like traffic signal retiming, ride sharing, incident management, and more. She's also an active leader in our professional community, having served on the boards of organizations such as WTS, ITE Fort Worth, and the Texas chapter of ITS America. Today, Natalie will be sharing a timely and important topic with us, the North Texas Transportation Plan for the 2026 World Cup. Let's join me in welcome Natalie Bettger.
Thank you for the warm welcome. It's exciting to be here. I was mentioning to a few folks before the presentation that it's nice to get out of the office and talk about stuff that you get so ingrained on working on behind your desk. And so it's a great opportunity to be here, talk about this exciting event that's coming. And this week, August 14th, we're almost 10 months before the first game. So the countdown is really on, and so it's a very exciting time to talk about this. We still have a lot of work to do, don't get me wrong, but I'll go through a lot of the plans that we're working on from the transportation side, try to encourage you guys to get involved in World Cup. There's lots of opportunities to volunteer for things, and I'll talk through all of that today as I go through the presentation. So first I want to highlight for everyone, where does transportation fit into the big scheme of all the World Cup planning? So you see at the top there is the North Texas Host Committee. And you see the red circle on there, that's transportation. So we're one little piece of the big work that needs to be done in the region. And so I just wanted to bring that into perspective is we're one piece of the puzzle. There's lots of other things that are going on in the region to help prepare us for the World Cup. We do interact with some of these other groups that you see on this org chart, including like safety and security, obviously, is a major group that we interact with as we move people around the region, making sure we do that in a safe and secure way. And so those are things that we're working through is where do we connect with other groups, and then how do we get our transportation plan up and running and ready to go in 10 months. So it's a very vibrant time and exciting time for us. So first off, regarding the Transportation Committee, I want to kind of go over what is the purpose of it. So the Transportation Committee has been meeting quarterly. It's made up of folks that operate the transportation system, from roadway operators to transit operators, cities, counties, the Tollway Authority have been part of it. The venues themselves participate in this particular group. But the main purpose of it, we report to the host committee, we prepare the transportation plan for the host committee. Our main focus of the plan have focused around the match site, which is AT&T Stadium, also the International Broadcasting Center, which is going to be at the Kay Bailey Hutchinson Convention Center, and then the Fan Fest, which is at Fair Park. But there's going to be other sites that come up, other events that begin to develop within the region as it gets closer and closer. In addition to this committee, our next slide, I have a list of working groups that help feed into the Transportation Committee. And so these working groups, as well as the Transportation Committee, they're open for anybody that wants to participate. If you're interested in being engaged in transportation in these particular working groups, we encourage folks to participate. In addition to these, like I mentioned, there are volunteer opportunities through the host committee as well as FIFA to help with the events themselves. In particular, these working groups, roadway operations, that's looking at items related to the traffic control plans around the venue sites. It's looking at staging tow truck operators out there on major roadways that we need to make sure stay clear to get to and from the match sites. It's also focused on the Mobility Assistance Patrol program for our region to help stranded motorists. So roadway operations really deal with anything that helps get folks around the region. We have an app coordination group. Again, we have lots of apps within our transportation family in the North Texas area. Dallas Area Rapid Transit has an app. We have a 511 app. The Tollway Authority has an app. There's ways in Google that exist. How do we integrate these apps so that folks aren't having to download some new app to get around? How do we utilize the resources we have? And so that's what that working group is all about. Also, parking permits, routing instructions. We want to make sure we can try to route people from where they're leaving their origin to their destination of their lot where there will be parking. So we want to help balance that demand on the transportation system the best we can. Technology companies, this is one that we are continuing to try to get a handle on, but this is an area where they will have a designated lot for match events, a designated area for Fan Fest where folks can go and utilize the technology companies such as Uber and Lyft. And so we want to make sure we engage them in that process and help us with putting their vehicles in the lot and not dropping off along the side of the road, which then clogs up routes to and from the event venues. Seamless Traveler, this particular one focuses on those connection points as travelers move from one mode to another. So wayfinding type signs to get them to and from transit, to and from lots, and things to that sort. We also have a large transit component, which you'll hear about today. We have a transit group that's focused on that. In addition to that, we have a travel demand management group looking at how do we manage existing traffic that's out there on our roadway system. Our general aviation group is working with our general aviation facilities on a reservation system for general aviation airports. And then there's also a desire to have advanced air mobility available around the stadium. And so we're working to see how we work with FIFA to provide that as another demonstration or pilot or possibly use case for these types of events. So as I mentioned, June 14th is our first match, and that's on a Sunday. So Dallas is hosting 9 matches here in the region. We have 7 weekday matches and 2 weekend matches. As you can see from this schedule, we cover all days of the week, which is exciting. You know, we get it tested each day. But what's most exciting, I think, about this schedule, which is so different than other major special events that we plan for, we get opportunities to improve it after each event. I mean, how often do you get an opportunity to develop a plan and you test it, and then guess what? 3 days later, you have another event, and then you test it, and then, 5 days later, you get another event. So you get opportunities to keep improving your plan. It's a really cool opportunity from a transportation standpoint, because usually we have one plan and the event comes and we think we got it prepared best we can, and then we don't get another opportunity until another event comes along. But this is so quick and fast paced, it'll be very exciting to see how we can improve event after event after event. And then the next slide is where the locations are throughout the region. So the main point I want to highlight here is there's team sites, there's base camps here, there's the Fan Fest, the International Broadcasting Center, the stadium where the matches will be held, but there's also other events that will be held across the region. But what I want to highlight on this map is it's region-wide. I know the matches are going to be held at AT&T Stadium, but you can see from this, it's spread across the whole region. So all partners are part of this really planning for the FIFA event. And so we need to make sure that we work together, have a cohesive plan, and continue to communicate out to the public how to get around within our region and to those fans, those visitors that are coming to our region. The next slide. All right, the mobility plan. So unlike other events, we do have to prepare a full-fledged transportation plan document. So our first draft was due in March of 2025, and this really looked at all transportation components, documenting those within the plan itself. A high-level detail was provided in the first draft that was due in March. For the October meeting and the October due date, we plan to enhance the details that are provided in that, giving more information about how folks will get to and from the match site, more detail about parking facilities and routing, more details about the rideshare lot. We have worked through many of those items over the past several months, and by October, we will have many of those resolved, which we can put in the next version of the draft plan. The final plan is not due until March of 2026. So the plan will continue to be refined as we lead up to that final plan on March of 2026, with more and more detail added each time we provide an update. So a little bit of information about the venues. So the stadium in Arlington is holding the 9 matches. You can see here we have lots of parking around the event venue. Even with the parking that FIFA needs for their constituents, we still have quite a bit of parking available. But the thing for these events, they're planning a lot more folks to ride transit. So transit currently is not provided for events at AT&T Stadium unless it's a major national event. The Super Bowl, for example, transit was provided. We worked to provide that. The NCAA Final Four matches at the stadium, we provided transit for that. But most of the normal every year events are not, they don't get transit service. So this is something new that we don't do all the time, but we know we have to do it for this event. And we envision that the transit use for this event is going to be a lot higher. The next slide, I show the breakdown of the different modes estimated by percentages. And so you see here, transit is estimated to be approximately 25%. We'll know more about these splits as we get into December and we know what teams are going to be playing in what games, because different teams have different travel patterns. And so when those are announced in December, we get the teams and the times for the matches themselves, and then we'll adjust these splits based on the teams that are coming into play for those matches. So transit in general is going to be 34%, you can see from here. Auto, we still anticipate it being pretty high, over 50%. And then we're revisiting some of these rideshare percentages because we think those might be a little higher than previous events or events that are currently held at the stadium. And then walking, what we took into account are what hotels are within walking distance of the stadium itself. They've had more hotel rooms open up that are within walking distance, so we can claim a little bit more than we've been able to claim in the past. So this slide shows our transit plan. So again, this is different than normal events. And so what we plan to do for our transit access to the stadium, we have two components. The primary component is utilizing the Trinity Railway Express, and then a charter shuttle from Centerport to the stadium. And our transit lot around the stadium is Lot H. It's just north of AT&T Stadium. And then to complement this, since we are looking at least a 34% transit component, we have a backup redundancy plan to back that up with a bus bridge that we're working with Trinity Metro and the Dallas Area Rapid Transit to provide. So once the train would reach capacity, we would then activate the bus bridge from those transit stations, and they would go directly to Lot H. From Dallas, obviously, they'd use the managed lane on I-30, and Fort Worth, they would follow I-30 into Lot H as part of that. So that is really our transit component as part of this plan that we're putting together. We are refining the lot layout, the route from the station to the lot. Over this week, we meet with the transit agencies to continue to refine what that plan is. All right, this is more detail of the bus bridge, which I'd covered this. This is just a map that shows the Trinity Railway Express and then I-30 that complements that, as well as the shuttle route from Centerport to Lot H. Next slide, please. So in addition to the bus bridge, we also have gone out and surveyed sidewalks that exist, sidewalk gaps to and from different lots around the AT&T Stadium, the Arlington Entertainment District. We want to make sure folks can walk to and from their lot to the facility, to and from the hotels to the facility. And so we've been working with the city of Arlington to fill those gaps in sidewalk locations, make some sidewalks wider. Again, we expect more folks to be traveling on transit. Lot H is to the north there of the stadium. And so that particular access, we're trying to determine if we can take a travel lane for pedestrian movement. It would obviously be barrier separated for that movement. So we're working with the Arlington and other folks to see what we can do to help accommodate that pedestrian movement from Lot H to the stadium itself. Next slide, please. So as we move people from Lot H down to the stadium, there's numerous things we're considering. Again, these are international travelers, so we need multilingual messaging, and so we're looking at message signs that allow for us to change what language it's in depending on what teams are coming to the area, to make sure that they understand how to move from the lot into the stadium. And then in addition to that, we've been working with communication companies to ensure there's wireless communication capabilities around the event venue, knowing that there's going to be a need for an increase in that around AT&T Stadium. Other items that we're looking at are related to the mobile network, making sure that that is accessible for people. And then our big focus, like I mentioned, is wayfinding. We want to make sure folks know how to get to and from lots to the stadium. And we've talked about, even if they're not multilingual, maybe they're symbols that are used to help communicate what we need to communicate that are international type symbols. Next slide, please. So active traffic management plans. Again, we work very closely with the city of Arlington. We look at alternate routes to avoid congestion as part of this, what detours to make. We also review the plans to look at what temporary turn lanes, maybe what lanes need to be dedicated for pedestrian movements. Around the event venue, there are reversible lane signs that exist, which I think I show a little bit more on future slides, and you can see them on this slide at the top, the reversible lane assignments. Those are utilized for ingress and egress of traffic. There's signal adjustments that are made, and then also we take into account the pedestrian movements and make sure that those are accommodated and safe for folks to cross. Next slide, please. So in terms of the Arlington operations on events, there's 30 traffic signals within the entertainment district. And then, as I mentioned, they do have lane control signals that allow them to change the direction of those lanes to get folks in and out. And then it usually starts 3 to 4 hours before the event, and they can usually clear the event, the stadium lots, within 90 minutes of the event. And so that's really what we're shooting for the World Cup as well. There's obviously going to be different road closures, different traffic plans that exist. Another item that has come up is we've learned that different teams do marches sometimes before events. And so we're working with the city to maybe identify a location where marches could take place where it doesn't necessarily disrupt the traffic as much as it would if they just march wherever they want, which might be the case anyhow, but if we can help inform them of locations that designated for that, maybe that can help with less disruption of the traffic. Next slide, please. So this slide, what we also do is we look at past event performance. So this slide is looking at signal performance on a typical weekday. So what we plan to use this type of data for is once we know the time of the events, the day of the events, we can go back and look at historic traffic signal information, see what it's like on a normal day during that time, and then work with Arlington to implement timing plans to help reduce congestion or plan for what is expected at those individual signalized locations. So this historic data that we're able to get through our NRICS traffic signal performance platform allows us to go back and look at that historic data and see what kind of impact the event will have on top of normal everyday traffic, which the next slide shows the impact during a previous soccer event at AT&T Stadium. You can see how those signalized intersections turn red during the event time. And so this data just helps us better plan and accommodate that need. Next slide, please. So I had mentioned we do utilize the reversible managed lane that goes from downtown Dallas to the Arlington Entertainment District. Usually for special events, these normal hours of operation work fine. For weekday events, they usually start in the evening. And so we keep normal operations during the week because the main goal of the roadway is for commuter traffic. And then on Saturday and Sunday, we work with the city and TxDOT to reverse this lane depending on when events occur. For the World Cup, what we put into the plan is we would adjust these hours based on the time of the matches that are in the region. So that's a little different than what we do on normal operations. In addition to that, we want to utilize the lane for the bus bridge that I mentioned is coming from Dallas to Lot H as our backup. Next slide, please. So another area that we're focused on is our travel demand management area. So one, we got to make sure the fans can get to the matches. That's very important because they pay a lot of money to go to these games. But what else we need to think about in our communication plans and our transportation plan are these other folks. Businesses that are around the area, businesses that might be affected by road closures and adjusting hours for that, as well as the normal resident, our average resident that commutes every day on these routes that might be utilized for match day. And so how do we communicate to them these events might be occurring? The train might be very busy during this time. Maybe you could adjust your hour. Maybe you could go to Fan Fest instead of coming to the stadium. So we're looking at what type of messaging we can put in place to educate our residents to maybe adjust their travel behavior depending on what time the matches are. And we'll learn more about that in December. In addition to that, obviously, we want to engage the media in that. They can help us get the word out about the matches, areas to possibly avoid if you don't want to get stuck in congestion. And then also we had talked about operation agencies that operate the system, and how do we better operate that. I will mention on this one, construction restrictions. I hadn't mentioned that yet. We are working with all of our partner agencies to see how we can either get construction to all construction projects on roadways and transit to a point where they can maybe be held during the time those events are here, or at least minimized. And so that is one area that we are coordinating with our partner agencies, especially on the impacted routes, to understand how we can accommodate that so it's not disrupting routes to and from matches and things like that. Next slide, please. So FanFest, as I mentioned, is at Fair Park. This is very similar operations is what we're planning for that would be similar to the state fair that's held there. They estimate about 40,000 folks per day on high days, less on low days. And this is also served by the Dallas Area Rapid Transit Green Line. So it would be similar operations. DART is also looking at the backup that they use for like Texas OU weekend. They have a bus bridge backup that's also provided for that. So as we learn more about the attendance around the Fan Fest at Fair Park, then we'll adjust those times and the operations with the Dallas Area Rapid Transit. Next slide, please. In addition to that, I had mentioned we have the International Broadcasting Center, and this is held at the K. Bailey Hutchinson Convention Center. And so this becomes active in January through August of 2026. And so obviously Dallas has started construction on the convention center. We're working very closely with Dallas to understand what parts of the construction might impact transportation components. And so that's meetings that we're working with them to better understand. The folks that are going to the International Broadcasting Center are media folks. It's not going to be the general public. So we have a better understanding of how many people will be going to and from this event venue. And then it's also served by the Dallas Area Rapid Transit, and that's one area that we're working with Dallas and DART to determine, will that station remain open during the World Cup events? And understanding the timing of construction at the convention center that might impact transportation and roadway segments. Next slide, please. And that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions. So what we have been told is they won't play during match days, but they could play in between match days, is my understanding of what their schedule will look like. But they won't play on the same day that we have a match. Yeah, and so that's why, you know, we bring them in when we talk about road closures or wanting to take a lane, because some of the infrastructure, like we put out barriers for a pedestrian lane, we want to make sure that can maybe stay out the entire length of the World Cup. You don't want to put that concrete barrier out and pick it, you know, that's too much work. We want to leave it out there for the duration of the matches. And so we are coordinating with them, but yeah, they won't happen the same day. Yes. So the marches are the fans, is my understanding. So like several hours before a match occurs, certain fan bases like to do a march to the stadium. And I guess like we're learning a little bit from the Club World Cup games that have been held just last month around the U.S. And so we're learning more. Some of those pop-up marches did occur. And so we're trying to understand if we communicate maybe where to march, would that help put them in an area that we can control a little better, because we wouldn't route traffic on that route when they're doing a march. But yeah, but some of them are pop-up, like they didn't even know some of them would happen, and it's like grassroots. They spread through social media and they start a march, but it's the fans that do the march.
Yeah, that was my question, is that you have to route that for security, right? Another thing, and by the way, thank you for a very fine presentation. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So living in other countries and attending international soccer events, not the World Cup, the soccer fans have a particular need to create traffic jams and honk their horns and wave their flags. Are you going to accommodate that need?
Well, we are working with security on how, the police and on how to manage that. And we're learning about what different teams do because we've also, different teams do different types of stuff, I guess. And so once we know the teams that are coming in December, at least for the first 5 matches, then we can prepare for those teams based on what their tradition is that they do before the games, after the games, how they travel maybe to and from the event. But I think we'll be able to have a more structure behind this once we know the teams. And that's supposed to be coming in December.
You've obviously done a lot of work, very good work on this. That has a cost. Do you have a budget? How big is that budget and who's paying that cost?
So yeah, we do have a budget. So our staff time, we have actually a special event project within the Council of Governments funded with federal dollars. It's kind of a continuing type project because we usually step in and help the host committee with the transportation components. So our staff time is kind of covered under that. We have different pots of funds. And so that is coming out of federal sources. And then we have worked with the city of Arlington on improvements around the Arlington Entertainment District. We've worked with TxDOT on a few items, and we've been working with the transit agencies on improvements to make sure that we have transit service and then this backup bus bridge, because they have to provide their normal service on top of this backup bus bridge. And so that funding has been varying. It hasn't been all secure yet, but the Regional Transportation Council, which is our policy board, has set aside money to pay for those improvements. And so I think we're close to $50 million in infrastructure improvements and operating improvements for the World Cup to bring it here. Now, like I said, staff time is minimal. It's not, I mean, it's a lot of our time, but the cost is not millions of dollars. We're in like $100,000, $200,000 in staff time. And then we also set aside money for a consultant to help us with the mobility plan. So Kimley Horn is under contract to do our mobility plan for us, and that is Regional Transportation Council local dollars, and $1 million has been set aside for that. Because this is what my director calls this our, this is outside of my day job. This work is. So we have to do our day job, and then we have to help organize the transportation plan for this. It's a lot invested. Many of the things is infrastructure that can prolong, like it'll be used after the World Cup. Sidewalk improvements, roadway improvements, those are things that can continue to be used for other events throughout the life of the project.
Knowing that we had the World Cup, yell at it, World Cup about 30 years ago in Dallas, were there lessons learned that y'all looked at from that World Cup and then maybe across the globe as well, lessons learned from previous World Cups?
Yeah, so we are looking at lessons learned from the past World Cup and then lessons learned from these Club World Cups that have also recently happened in the United States. They say they are going to be a little different, but I think the biggest things the biggest takeaways we learned so far is the large number of fans that would like to take transit, which is way different than other events that we've hosted, the Super Bowl, the NCAA Final Four. I mean, there's a little bit of transit use, but not what is expected for this event. So that's a big takeaway, and that's why we're putting a large emphasis on the transit planning side of it. And then the other side that we've learned is the teams and the team fan culture and trying to understand how to embrace that, and help manage it, at least manage like how we can fit it within the transportation plan. If we know they like to do something, how do we fit that in the transportation plan? And I think my understanding is each team is a little different on their travel mode and their behavior before and after events. And so once we know the teams, we'll get more educated on what those items are that they like and they normally do, their traditions, and then what modes they take, and have to adjust our plan. Some of it may be adjusted, like I said, after every event we can get better, but again, after every event we have a different team. So it's going to be a little bit different looking, I guess, than what we experienced in the previous match. It is our first match is June 14th of 2026.
He wants to know if y'all will expect ice that week.
Yeah, we won't expect
Not the
ice,
federal
but
agency, but actual ice.
it won't be like the Super Bowl where we had ice every other day. But it is supposed to be really hot. And so we are planning for that because we have to have shade. We have to have hydration type stations for people. We have to have like medical type facilities in case people pass out. So those are things that are different than other events too that we have held, is the heat in the middle of the summer is going to be very hot. All right, thank you.